The letter arrived on a Tuesday, printed on expensive cream paper that felt like money between my fingers. I remember because I was still in my McDonald's uniform, grease spots dotting my khakis from an 8-hour shift of trying to save up for college. The irony wasn't lost on me. My name is Virginia, and this is the story of how my family stole my future, or at least how they tried to. "What's that, honey?" Mom peered over my shoulder as I stood in our cramped kitchen, scanning the formal text that would change everything. "It's from Grandpa Howard's lawyer." My voice wavered slightly. "About the college fund he left me." Dad looked up from his phone, suddenly interested. "Oh, that." The way he said it, like he was preparing for a root canal, should have been my first warning. "It says here he left me $12,000. I placed the letter on our scratched kitchen table. "For education expenses." Mom and Dad exchanged one of those loaded parent looks that make your stomach drop. You know the ones, where they have an entire conversation without saying a word. "Sweetie, we need to talk about that," Mom started, pulling out a chair. "Why don't you sit down?" I remained standing. "What's there to talk about?" "Grandpa left me money for college. I have the letter right here." "The situation is complicated," Dad sighed, running his hand through his thinning hair. "Your Aunt Raylan and we had a family discussion about the inheritance." "What kind of discussion?" Another look between them. Mom cleared her throat. "We all agreed that since Kylie got accepted to Halbridge University, and it's such an prestigious opportunity," my blood ran cold. "You gave my college money to Kylie?" "We redirected the funds," Dad corrected, as if changing the words made it better. "Your cousin has a real shot at something extraordinary here. Halbridge could open so many doors." "And I don't?" The words came out sharper than I'd ever spoken to them before. "What about my doors?" "Virginia, honey." Mom reached for my hand. I pulled it away. "You're smart, but Kylie's been working toward this her whole life. Her test scores, her extracurriculars, she's got a real chance to be something special." "And I'm what? Just regular old Virginia? The backup plan?" "That's not fair," Dad protested weakly. "We're just trying to see the bigger picture here." "The bigger picture of stealing my inheritance?" "It wasn't stealing," Mom insisted. "It was a family decision. Sometimes we have to make sacrifices for the greater good." I laughed, but there wasn't any humor in it. Funny how it's always my sacrifices for Kylie's greater good. I picked up the letter again, scanning it more carefully this time. That's when I noticed the fine print at the bottom, a clause about fund allocation and time limits. Something sparked in my brain, but I kept my face neutral. "Does Kylie know?" I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. "Of course she knows," Dad said. "She's very grateful. You should be proud of her." "Proud." I tested the word like it was poison. "Right." The doorbell rang. Probably Alejandro, my study partner. We had calculus homework to tackle. Mom looked relieved at the interruption. "We can talk more about this later," she offered. "Nothing to talk about," I replied, folding the letter carefully and sliding it into my pocket. "Family decision, right? All done." I grabbed my backpack and headed for the door, but Dad's voice stopped me. "Virginia, try to understand. Sometimes life isn't fair, but we have to accept things gracefully." I turned back, meeting his eyes. "You're right, Dad. Life isn't fair." I managed a smile that felt more like baring teeth. "But sometimes that works out just fine." Alejandro was waiting on the porch, his usual grin fading when he saw my face. "You okay, V?" "Not really." I pulled out the letter. "But I will be. How much do you know about inheritance law?" His eyebrows shot up. "Literally nothing." "Why?" "Because I need to learn everything about it." I pointed to the clause at the bottom of the page. "Especially this part about educational fund usage requirements and 60-day windows." 60 days? Yeah. I felt the first real smile since opening that letter spread across my face. Turns out my family made a very interesting mistake with timing. Alejandro's eyes lit up as he caught my drift. Oh man, you've got that look. The one that means someone's about to learn a very expensive lesson. What can I say? I shrugged, heading toward his car. I've always been a good student. And this? I waved the letter. This is going to be my favorite subject. To Kylie, Aunt Raylan's voice rang through our dining room, champagne flute raised high. The future of our family. I stabbed my fork into my lasagna, imagining it was something else. The whole family had gathered for a special celebration dinner to honor Kylie's acceptance to Hullbridge. Mom had even bought fancy paper napkins with little graduation caps on them. I just can't believe it, Kylie gushed, perfectly manicured hands clasped under her chin. When I saw that acceptance letter, I literally screamed. As if there was ever any doubt, Aunt Raylan beamed. My girl's been destined for greatness since day one. I caught Alejandro's eye across the table. Mom had insisted I invite him, probably hoping his presence would keep me civil. He gave me a subtle eye roll. Have you picked your classes yet? He asked Kylie innocently. The registration deadline's coming up pretty soon, right? Kylie's smile flickered. Oh, not yet. I'm still finalizing some details. Details? I couldn't resist. Like tuition payment, maybe? Virginia, Mom warned. Just asking, I said, all sweetness. I mean, Hullbridge is expensive. Good thing you had help with that, right, Kylie? The table went quiet. Aunt Raylan's lips pressed into a thin line. Actually, Kylie straightened her shoulders, I'm thinking of taking a gap semester to really prepare myself. I nearly choked on my water. Alejandro kicked me under the table. A gap semester? Aunt Raylan's voice could have frozen hell. We didn't discuss this. I just think maybe I need more time to— Nonsense, Aunt Raylan cut her off. You're not delaying anything. We've worked too hard for this. I pulled out my phone, making a show of checking something. Hey, quick question. When exactly was tuition due? Wouldn't want you to miss any important deadlines. That's enough, Dad said firmly. Not everyone's meant for greatness, sweetie, Aunt Raylan shot at me. Some of us have to be content with community college. The table collectively winced. Even Kylie looked uncomfortable. You're right, I smiled. Some of us have to actually earn what we get. I stood up, grabbing my plate. Thanks for dinner, Mom. Alejandro and I have some studying to do. Sit down, Dad started, but I was already heading for the kitchen. Alejandro followed me, waiting until we were safely in my room before bursting out laughing. Holy crap, V, that was intense. Did you see her face when Kylie mentioned delaying? I opened my laptop, pulling up the documents we'd been researching. She knows she's running out of time. How many days left? I checked my calendar. 22, and Kylie hasn't submitted a single form to Hullbridge yet. I checked their student portal system. That's not creepy at all. He grinned, flopping onto my bed. Hey, the login info was her idea. She wanted me to help her with the application essays, remember? I clicked through some bookmarked pages. Besides, everything we need is public record. Grandpa's will, the state inheritance laws, the education fund requirements. Speaking of which, Alejandro sat up. I found something interesting about conditional enrollment. Technically, Kylie's acceptance isn't even final yet. She still needs to submit her final transcripts and— A knock at my door cut him off. Mom poked her head in. Virginia? Aunt Raylan's leaving. Come say goodbye. Can't, I replied, not looking up from my screen. Lots of paperwork to review. You know how important deadlines are, Mom sighed. Please don't make this harder than it needs to be. I'm not making anything hard, I said. I'm just being thorough. Isn't that what you always taught me? After she left, Alejandro shook his head. You're scary when you're plotting revenge, you know that? It's not revenge, I corrected him. It's justice. There's a difference. If you say so, he peered at my screen. What are you looking at now? Used car listings, I grinned. Figure I should know exactly what I want when the money comes back to me. You really think this will work? I thought about Kylie's hesitation, Aunt Raylan's panic, and that beautiful little clause in Grandpa's will. Oh, it'll work. They're so busy planning Kylie's perfect future, they forgot to check the fine print of her present. From downstairs, we heard the front door slam, followed by the sound of Aunt Raylan's car starting. 22 days, I murmured, bookmarking a particularly nice Honda Civic. Wonder if they'll figure it out before then. Probably not, Alejandro said. They're too busy celebrating their golden girl to notice the ghost in the machine. I smiled at that. Ghost in the machine. That's exactly what I was. The quiet one, the overlooked one, the one they thought they could safely ignore. You know what the best part is? I closed my laptop. When this all goes down, they can't even be mad. They're the ones who taught me that family comes first, right? Right, Alejandro laughed. And karma comes last. No, I corrected him, thinking of that Honda Civic. Karma comes with 4 wheels and a sunroof. The next 2 weeks were like watching a slow-motion car crash, if the car was made of family drama and the crash was entirely preventable. I kept my head down, played nice, and watched the chaos unfold. Have you finished your housing forms yet? Aunt Raylan's voice carried through our thin walls during her 3rd surprise visit that week. She was in the living room with Mom, probably clutching her ever-present planning binder. I'm working on it, Kylie replied, her voice smaller than usual. Working on it? What's there to work on? Just fill them out. I stirred my coffee in the kitchen, pretending to be fascinated by my phone while actually recording every word. Kylie hesitated. Maybe I should look at other schools too, just in case. Something slammed. Probably Aunt Raylan's binder. Other schools? After everything we've done to get you into Halbridge? I couldn't resist. I walked into the living room, still in my pajamas. Morning, everyone. Don't mind me, just getting some breakfast. Virginia, Mom said tightly, I thought you had work today. Afternoon shift. I sprawled on the couch, directly across from Kylie. Hey, cuz, how's that enrollment process going? Those deadlines can be tricky. Kylie wouldn't meet my eyes. She looked terrible. Designer clothes perfect as always, but with dark circles under her eyes, barely covered by concealer. It's fine, she mumbled. Really? I pulled up my phone calendar. Because I could have sworn I saw something about a final submission date coming up. That's enough, Aunt Raylan snapped. Nobody asked for your input. Just trying to help. I shrugged. I mean, wouldn't want any important paperwork to slip through the cracks. That would be awful, right? Mom shot me a warning look, but I noticed her hands fidgeting with her coffee cup. She knew exactly what I was doing. Kylie, Aunt Raylan turned back to her daughter, we'll go home right now and finish everything. No more delays. But Mom? No buts. This is your future we're talking about. Our future. I coughed quietly. Don't you mean her future? The glare Aunt Raylan gave me could have melted steel. Some of us actually have futures worth investing in. Raylan, Mom gasped. What? We all know it's true. Virginia can barely keep a fast food job. Meanwhile, Your Kylie looks like she's about to throw up, I interrupted, noting my cousin's greenish complexion. Maybe you should ask her what she wants instead of telling her. Kylie suddenly stood up. I need some air. She bolted from the room. After a moment's hesitation, Aunt Raylan followed, leaving me alone with Mom. Was that necessary? Mom asked quietly. Was stealing my college fund necessary? She flinched. We didn't steal. Save it. I stood up. By the way, Dad left his email open on the family computer last night. Interesting message from the estate lawyer about fund allocation requirements. You might want to check that out. Mom's face went pale. What did you see? Everything. I headed for the stairs. But don't worry, I'm sure it'll all work out exactly like it's supposed to. Later that night, I heard them arguing in their bedroom. The words deadline and requirements and should have checked drifted through the walls. I texted Alejandro. Me. They're finally figuring it out. Alejandro. Too late? Me. Way too late. 15 days left. Alejandro. Kylie still hasn't registered? Me. Nope. Having a total meltdown about it. Alejandro. Your aunt must be losing it. Me. Like a toddler in a tornado, I heard a soft knock at my door. To my surprise, it was Kylie. Can we talk? She asked, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. I gestured to my desk chair. She sat down, twisting her hands in her lap. I don't want to go to Halbridge, she whispered. I know. Mom won't listen. She keeps saying we've invested too much, that we can't waste the opportunity, that we can't waste the... She trailed off, looking guilty. My money? I finished for her. She nodded miserably. I'm sorry, I knew it was wrong, but Mom said, save it. I cut her off. You didn't fight for me then. I'm not fighting for you now. What's that supposed to mean? I smiled, thinking of the calendar counting down on my phone. It means sometimes doing nothing is the best revenge of all. She left shortly after, confused but clearly unsettled. I heard her car start up in the driveway, then fade away into the night. My phone buzzed again. Alejandro. You okay? Me. Never better, Alejandro. Liar. Me. Fine. But I will be Alejandro. When? Me. In exactly 15 days. Alejandro. That Honda Civic better be worth all this. Me. Trust me. The car is just a bonus. Me. The look on their faces will be priceless. The probate lawyer's office smelled like old books and expensive furniture. I sat across from Mr. Patterson, trying to look appropriately confused and concerned. So, I just had some questions about Grandpa Howard's will, I said, pulling out the letter. Specifically about the education fund requirements. He adjusted his glasses, scanning the document. Of course. What would you like to know? Well, the money was supposed to be used for education expenses within 60 days of distribution, right? Correct. He pulled up something on his computer. According to our records, the funds were transferred to your cousin Kylie's account on June 1st. I checked my phone calendar, though I already knew the date by heart. So that means the deadline would be July 31st. He peered at me over his glasses. Is there a problem with the fund usage? Oh, no. I smiled innocently. I just wanted to confirm the details. And what happens if the money isn't used for education by then? As clearly stated in the will, the funds would revert to the secondary beneficiary. He clicked through some files. Which would be you, Virginia? Interesting. I leaned forward. And how exactly would that process work? 20 minutes later, I walked out with everything I needed, forms, procedures, and the delicious knowledge that my plan was perfectly legal. Alejandro was waiting in his car outside. How'd it go? Better than expected. I buckled up. Want to drive by Hallbridge? I hear the admissions office is still open. The campus was exactly as pretentious as I'd imagined. All ivy-covered buildings and perfectly manicured lawns. We parked near the administration building. You sure about this? Alejandro asked. Just need to confirm one thing. I walked up to the front desk, where a friendly-looking woman sat. Hi, I'm calling about my cousin's enrollment status. Kylie? She was accepted for fall semester. The woman typed something into her computer. Oh, yes. I see her conditional acceptance here, but we haven't received her final paperwork or tuition payment yet. She'll need to submit those by next week to secure her spot. Next week? I widened my eyes. But that's so soon. Yes, we've sent several reminder emails. She frowned. If we don't receive everything by the deadline, we'll have to offer her spot to someone on the wait list. Back in the car, Alejandro whistled. 8 days left and she hasn't even started the process? Nope. I popped the P sound. And Aunt Raylan's about to find out. Right on cue, my phone rang. Mom. Virginia, where are you? She sounded frantic. You need to come home right now. Why? What's wrong? Just, please come home. We pulled into my driveway 15 minutes later. Aunt Raylan's car was parked haphazardly across the lawn. I could hear shouting before we even reached the front door. What do you mean they won't accept a late registration? Aunt Raylan's voice echoed through the house. Do you know who we are? How much money we're bringing? The admissions officer was very clear, Dad said wearily. The deadline is the deadline. I walked into the living room, Alejandro trailing behind. Everyone turned to look at us. Oh, good, you're here, Mom said. Maybe you can talk to Kylie. She's locked herself in the bathroom. Me? I raised an eyebrow. Why would she listen to me? Because this is all your fault, Aunt Raylan rounded on me. You've been putting doubts in her head, making her hesitate. Pretty sure Kylie's capable of hesitating all by herself. I sat down, enjoying the show. Besides, isn't this what you wanted? The money's been transferred, mission accomplished. The money doesn't matter if she doesn't actually attend. Aunt Raylan's voice rose to a shriek. Actually, I pulled out the papers from the lawyer, the money matters a lot, especially since it hasn't been used for education expenses yet. The room went silent. Dad took the papers, his face growing pale as he read. Where did you get these? From Grandpa's lawyer. You know, the one who sent the original letter. I smiled. The one with the 60-day clause that nobody bothered to read. What 60-day clause? Aunt Raylan snatched the papers. The one that says if the money isn't used for education within 60 days, it goes to me. I checked my phone. By my count, you have 8 days left. Better hurry. You can't do this, Aunt Raylan whispered. I'm not doing anything. I stood up. I'm just letting you deal with the consequences of your own choices. Isn't that what family's for? Virginia, Mom started, but I was already heading upstairs. Oh, and Aunt Raylan, I called over my shoulder. I'd start car shopping if I were you. Kylie's going to need a ride to community college. The sound of her outraged scream followed me all the way to my room, where Alejandro and I collapsed in silent laughter. 8 days, he whispered. 8 days, I agreed. And then karma comes home to roost. In a Honda Civic? In a Honda Civic. Day 60 dawned bright and clear. I'd barely slept, watching the clock tick past midnight, then 1, then 2. By 6 a.m., I was dressed and ready, the completed paperwork spread across my desk like a battle plan. My phone buzzed. Alejandro. Ready? Me. Born ready, Alejandro. Need a ride to the lawyers? Me. One last time. The house was silent as I crept downstairs. Nobody had been sleeping well lately. I'd heard Mom and Dad up past midnight again, arguing in whispers. Aunt Raylan had stopped coming over 3 days ago, after her last desperate attempt to force Kylie to register for classes ended in tears and slammed doors. I left a note on the kitchen counter. Gone to take care of some paperwork. Back later. Alejandro was waiting outside, practically bouncing in his seat. This is better than Netflix. This is better than everything. I pulled out the notarized statement I'd prepared. Let's go make it official. Mr. Patterson was expecting us. He reviewed the documents quickly, nodding as he went. Everything appears to be in order, he said, stamping the final page. The funds will be transferred back to your account within 24 hours. That's it? I couldn't believe it was this easy. That's it, he smiled slightly. Inheritance law is quite straightforward when followed correctly. Back in the car, Alejandro pulled up the Honda dealership's website. Still want the blue Civic? Already called them yesterday. They're holding it for me. Your family's going to lose it. They already lost it. I checked my email, grinning at the new message. Oh, and it gets better. What? Remember that state STEM scholarship I applied for? The one that would cover full tuition? His eyes widened. No way. Just got approved. I showed him the acceptance letter. Turns out I didn't even need Grandpa's money for college. So the car is just a bonus, I laughed, and a lesson in karma. The dealership was quiet for a Tuesday morning. The salesman, Dave, had the paperwork ready when we arrived. The 2019 Civic in Pacific Blue, he said, leading us to the lot. Low mileage, excellent condition, all maintenance records included. The car was beautiful, sleek and modern, with a sunroof and leather seats. My hands shook slightly as I signed the papers. "Will you be financing with us today?" Dave asked. "No," I smiled, thinking of the transfer that would hit my account tomorrow. "I'll be paying cash." 2 hours later, I pulled into my driveway in my new car. Mom was standing on the porch, arms crossed. "Where have you been?" "Getting what's mine." I tossed her the dealership paperwork. "Don't worry, it's all legal, just like everything else that's happened." She flipped through the pages, face growing paler. "Virginia, what did you do?" "Nothing," I shrugged. "That's the beauty of it. I just waited. Your aunt will—" "What? Steal from me again?" I pulled out my phone, showing her the scholarship email. "By the way, turns out I didn't need the money for college anyway. Full ride to State University's engineering program." "Engineering?" She looked surprised. "When did you—" "Apply? Study? Plan my future?" I walked past her into the house. While everyone was focused on Kylie's perfect life, I was building mine. Dad was in the kitchen, staring at my morning note. He looked up when I entered. "Is that your car outside?" "Yep, bought and paid for. Well, it will be paid for tomorrow when Grandpa's money transfers back to me." He sat heavily in a kitchen chair. "We really messed up, didn't we?" "Yep." I grabbed a water bottle from the fridge. "But hey, look on the bright side. At least one of your daughters is going to college this fall." "What do you mean?" Right on cue, my phone buzzed with a text from Kylie. "I told Mom I'm not going to Halbridge, or anywhere. Not yet." I showed it to Dad. Guess the pressure finally got to her. "This is going to destroy your aunt," Mom said from the doorway. "No," I corrected her. "This is going to teach her a lesson. There's a difference." I headed upstairs, keys jingling in my pocket, but paused on the steps. "Oh, and Mom? Dad? Next time someone leaves me an inheritance, maybe don't give it away without asking me first." In my room, I texted Alejandro. Me. "It's done." "Alejandro, how's it feel?" Me. "Like justice." Alejandro. "Want to take that car for a real spin?" Me. "Meet you in 10. We've got some celebrating to do." I looked out my window at the blue Honda gleaming in the driveway. Somewhere across town, Aunt Raylin was probably getting Kylie's text, realizing that all her schemes had backfired spectacularly. But that wasn't my problem anymore. I had a car, a scholarship, and most importantly, my dignity back. Not bad for 60 days' work. Sunday dinner was Mom's idea. "We need to clear the air," she'd insisted. As a family. I drove myself there, of course. Aunt Raylan's car was already in the driveway when I pulled up, parked crooked as usual. I took extra care parking my Civic perfectly straight beside it. "Nice car," Kylie said quietly as I walked in. She was hovering in the foyer, looking lost in her own skin. "Pacific Blue, right?" "Good eye." I hung up my jacket. "How's the gap year planning going?" She flinched. "Mom's still not speaking to me." "Sounds peaceful." The dining room was a masterpiece of tension. Dad was studying his plate like it held the secrets of the universe. Mom was rearranging the silverware for the third time. Aunt Raylin sat rigid in her chair, lips pressed so tight they'd disappeared. "Virginia," Mom said too brightly, "would you like to say grace?" "Sure." I sat down, folding my hands. "Thank you for this food, and for teaching us that timing is everything. Amen." Aunt Raylin's water glass hit the table hard enough to slosh. "So," I reached for the salad. "It's been about 2 months since our last family discussion about college funds. Lots of changes since then. Virginia, Dad warned. What? I'm just making conversation. I pulled an envelope from my purse, sliding it across to Mom. Speaking of changes, here's my orientation schedule for State University. Engineering program, full scholarship. Engineering? Aunt Raylan's voice dripped acid. How ambitious. I know, right? Almost as ambitious as taking someone else's inheritance. I smiled sweetly. How's that working out for everyone? You vindictive little... Mom, don't, Kylie interrupted. Please. Don't what? Point out how your cousin manipulated everything? Played us all like puppets? I laughed. That's rich coming from you. Tell me, how exactly did I manipulate anything? By letting Kylie make her own choice? By following the legal requirements of Grandpa's will? Please explain. You knew she was having doubts. You knew she might not enroll in time. Of course I knew. Everyone knew. I looked at Kylie. Everyone except you, apparently. Mom tried to change the subject. The chicken might be getting cold. That money was supposed to secure her future. Aunt Raylan's fist hit the table. No, I corrected. That money was supposed to secure my future. You're the one who tried to steal it. We did not steal. Really? I pulled out another paper, the original letter from Grandpa's lawyer. Because according to this, taking someone's inheritance without their consent is exactly that. Stealing. Virginia, Dad started. But hey, I continued, at least I got something nice out of it. I placed my new car key on the table. Want to see? It's parked right next to your car, Aunt Raylan. Perfect condition, great mileage, $12,000 well spent. The silence was deafening. You bought a car? Mom whispered. Well, I didn't need it for tuition anymore, did I? I took a bite of chicken. This is really good, Mom. Did you try that new recipe? This is unacceptable. Aunt Raylan stood up. We'll fight this. There must be legal options. There aren't. I pulled out one final document, Mr. Patterson's official transfer confirmation. It's all completely legal. You had 60 days to use the money for education. You didn't. End of story. Kylie needed that money. No, Kylie said suddenly, her voice stronger than I'd ever heard it. I needed you to listen to me. I needed you to stop pushing. She looked at me. I needed to be more like Virginia. Aunt Raylan collapsed back into her chair. What's that supposed to mean? It means, Kylie stood up, that while you were all busy deciding my future, Virginia was actually building hers, and I'm done letting you build mine. She walked out, the front door closing quietly behind her. Well, I picked up my fork again. That was dramatic. Anyone want to talk about the weather instead? This isn't over, Aunt Raylan hissed. Actually, it is. I stood up, gathering my papers. But don't worry, I'll send Kylie gas money if she needs it. After all, I smiled, that's what family's for, right? I headed for the door, then turned back. Oh, and Mom? Thanks for dinner. Really puts the last 2 months in perspective. Outside, Kylie was sitting on the porch steps. Need a ride? I asked. She looked up at me, then at my new car. You planned this whole thing, didn't you? From the very beginning? Nope. I just waited for everyone else's plans to fall apart. I twirled my keys. Coming? She stood up, brushing off her jeans. Where are we going? Does it matter? For the first time in weeks, she smiled. Not anymore. We drove off in my karma-bought Honda Civic, leaving the sound of Aunt Raylan's meltdown fading behind us. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about getting free. The aftermath hit like a tsunami. First came the silence, then the chaos, then the desperate attempts to restore what was already broken. Aunt Raylan tried calling her lawyer the very next morning. I know because Mom told me while helping me fold laundry, one of her many recent attempts at reconciliation. She's threatening to sue, Mom said, matching up socks with careful precision. For what? I snorted. Following the law? I'm not sure exactly, she sighed. She's not thinking clearly. Clearly. I folded a t-shirt. How's Kylie doing? She moved in with her dad yesterday. That made me pause. Kylie's dad had been out of the picture for years. Aunt Raylan's first victim of controlling behavior. My phone buzzed. Speaking of Kylie, can we talk? Me. Depends. Is your mom involved? Kylie. No, just me. Coffee? 20 minutes later, I pulled into the local Starbucks parking lot. Kylie was already there, looking smaller without her usual designer outfit armor. Hey, she said as I sat down. Hey yourself. I studied her face. You look different. Feel different. She twisted her coffee cup. Mom's threatening to cut me off. Shocking. I applied for a job at the mall yesterday. Now that was surprising. Really? Really. She met my eyes. You know what I realized? When you took that money back, it wasn't just about the cash. It was about taking back control. Took you long enough to figure that out. Yeah, well, she smiled slightly. I was too busy being perfect to be smart. My phone buzzed again. Alejandro, your dad just called my mom. Me. Why? Alejandro, wanted to know if you're really ready for engineering me. Seriously? Alejandro, think they're finally realizing you're not the backup plan. That your study buddy? Kylie asked. Yeah, apparently Dad's doing reconnaissance now. They're all freaking out. She took a sip of coffee. You completely destroyed their worldview. Good. Was it worth it? She asked suddenly. Burning all those bridges? I thought about it. They burned the bridges. I just stopped pretending we could still cross them. The bell above the door chimed. We both looked up to see Aunt Raylan storming in, face twisted with rage. Really? I muttered. In Starbucks? Kylie, she shouted, drawing stairs. Get in the car right now. No. Kylie didn't move. What did you say to me? She said no. I stood up. Need it in writing? I've got plenty of experience with legal documents now. You. Aunt Raylan pointed a shaking finger at me. You did this. You turned my daughter against me. Mom, Kylie's voice was steady. I'm 18. I can make my own choices. Choices? Like throwing away your future? Living with your deadbeat father? At least he listens to me? Kylie shot back. The barista approached cautiously. Ma'am, I need to ask you to lower your voice. Stay out of this, Aunt Raylan snapped. Actually, I pulled out my phone. Maybe don't stay out of it. This might need documentation. You think this is funny? Aunt Raylan advanced on me. You think destroying our family is amusing? The only thing destroyed is your control. I stood my ground. And yeah, that is pretty funny. Virginia, Kylie warned as her mother's face turned purple. You want funny? Aunt Raylan grabbed my coffee cup and hurled it against the wall. How's that for humor? The store went silent. The barista was already on the phone with security. Well, I said calmly, that was dramatic, and probably on camera. I pointed to the security cameras in the corners. Want to add assault charges to your legal problems? That stopped her cold. Mom, Kylie stood up. Go home, please, before you make this worse. Make it worse? Aunt Raylan laughed hysterically. How could it possibly get worse? I could press charges, I suggested, or we could just add this lovely moment to the family photo album. Your choice. Security arrived then. 2 guys in uniforms who firmly but politely escorted Aunt Raylan out. Through the window, we watched her drive away, still screaming into her phone. Sorry about your coffee, Kylie said quietly. Worth it for the show. I turned to her. You okay? She nodded slowly. Actually, yeah, that was liberating. Freedom usually is. I grabbed my keys. Come on, I'll drive you to your dad's. In the car, Kylie turned to me. Hey, Virginia? Yeah? Thanks. Not just for the ride, but for everything. Even stealing back my own money? Especially that. She smiled. It taught me something important. What's that? That sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even. It's getting out. I thought about that as I drove, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of possibility. Maybe Kylie had learned something after all. And maybe, just maybe, that was worth more than $12,000. The last box fit perfectly in my Honda's trunk. I closed it with a satisfying thunk, stepping back to admire how I'd Tetrised my entire life into one car. That's everything? Mom stood on the porch, twisting her hands. That's everything. I checked my phone. Alejandro would be following me to campus in his car, but he was running late as usual. Virginia, Dad stepped forward. We need to talk about all of this. Now? After I'm literally packed to leave? Please, Mom's voice cracked. Just give us 5 minutes. I leaned against my car, arms crossed. 4 minutes and 59 seconds. We were wrong, Dad said simply, about everything. Wow, did that hurt to admit? Virginia, Mom pleaded. We're trying here. Trying? Now? I laughed. After I had to fight for my own inheritance? After you chose Kylie over me? After we realized what we almost lost, Dad interrupted, our daughter, our brilliant, determined engineering scholarship daughter. That made me pause. We were so busy looking at Kylie's spotlight, Mom added, we missed your quiet shine, and we're sorry. Sorry doesn't fix it. No, Dad agreed, but maybe this will help. He handed me an envelope. Inside was a check for $12,000. What's this? Your inheritance, Mom said. The original one. We've been saving since everything happened. It's yours. No strings. I stared at the check, then at them. Why? Because it should have been yours all along. Dad's voice was rough. Because we should have fought for you. My phone buzzed. Alejandro was here. I could see his car turning onto our street. Keep it, I held out the check. Put it towards fixing things with Kylie instead. But I don't need it anymore, I smiled. I've got something better. What's that? Self-respect. Can't put a price tag on that. Alejandro pulled up, honking twice. Ready to roll, future engineer? Almost. I turned back to my parents. Thanks for the gesture, really, but I'm good. Mom stepped forward, then stopped herself. Will you call when you get there? Maybe. I opened my car door. If you promise to never give away my money again? Deal, Dad said quickly. And if you promise to stop comparing me to Kylie? We promise, Mom whispered. And if... Virginia, Alejandro called. If we don't leave now, we'll miss orientation. Coming. I looked at my parents one last time. I'll text when I get there. Drive safe, Dad said. Always do. I slid into the driver's seat, then rolled down the window. Oh, and Mom? Yes? Thanks for raising me to fight for what's mine, even if you didn't mean to. I backed out of the driveway, Alejandro following close behind. In my rearview mirror, I could see my parents standing together, watching me leave. They looked smaller somehow. My phone buzzed with a text from Kylie. Kylie, good luck at school. Dad says hi. Me, thanks. How's freedom? Kylie. Different. Better. Scary me. Best things usually are. Ready for this? Alejandro's voice crackled through my Bluetooth speaker. Born ready. I merged onto the highway, feeling the engine purr. Did you get your class schedule? Yep. We've got calculus together on Mondays. Perfect. You can help me spend my karma money on coffee. He laughed. Still can't believe you turned down that check. Don't need it. I patted my steering wheel. Got everything I need right here. In a Honda Civic? In knowing I won on my own terms. The morning sun hit my rearview mirror, making me squint. Behind me, my childhood home grew smaller and smaller until it disappeared completely. Ahead, The highway stretched out like a promise. My phone buzzed one last time. Aunt Raylin. I clicked ignore without hesitation. Hey, Alejandro? Yeah? Race you to campus? In that grocery getter, please? Loser buys lunch? You're on. I pressed the accelerator, feeling the car respond instantly. In that moment, I wasn't running away from anything. I was driving toward everything. My future, my freedom, my life on my terms. Turns out, revenge doesn't always mean destroying someone else. Sometimes it means rebuilding yourself, stronger than before. And sometimes it means leaving the past where it belongs, in your rearview mirror, getting smaller by the mile. Hey, Virginia? Alejandro's voice crackled through the speaker again. Yeah? You know what's better than karma? I smiled, thinking of everything that had led to this moment. The betrayal, the waiting, the perfect timing of justice served cold. What's that? Living well. I pressed the accelerator harder, watching his car shrink in my mirror. Exactly, and lunch is on you. The highway stretched ahead, empty and endless and mine, just like my future, just like my choices, just like everything I'd fought to keep. And that was worth more than all the inheritance in the world.